What do you make of Mamdani here in New York?
In this heated segment, Erica Kirk, yes, the widow of conservative firebrand Charlie Kirk, gets absolutely steamrolled by reality while attempting to dunk on Zoran Momani, the New York City newly elected left-wing mayor. Sitting with Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, she delivers an out-of-touch analysis of why women voted for Momani, and it blows up right in her face. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Erica Kirk embarrasses herself, while her argument collapses under its own weight, and how her critics expose a massive disconnect between conservative elites and real working women in New York City. Buckle up, because this clip does not go on the way she thinks it's going to. Let's find the real truth.
Young women in the city will look to the government as a solution to put off having a family or a marriage because you're relying on the government to support you. I just find it so ironic and so interesting that a heavy percentage of the individuals that voted for him were female.
Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, sat down for a conversation with Andrew Ross Sorkin at the New York Times annual Deal Book Summit. And as someone who lives in Arizona and seems to be, pretty well off, she's communicating here that she's having a difficult time understanding the appeal of Zoran Momani, the left-wing mayoral candidate in New York City who won the election recently. Now, here is a full understanding, full context of what she had to say. Take a look.
Erica starts off with what she thinks is a devastating point. But this is the moment the train leaves the station, and already Erica sounds confused. Like she's shocked that young, independent women didn't automatically rally behind her dead husband's ideology. This is an analysis. It's a conservative coping mechanism.
What do you make of Mamdani here in New York? And the reason I ask is he was somebody who really actually was able to persuade the younger voter. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really captured, but obviously on the complete opposite end, if you will, of where someone like Charlie would have been.
I'm going to come at this from a female voter because a high percentage of his voters were female. I think there's a tendency, especially when you live in a city like Manhattan, where, again, you are so career-driven and you almost look to the government as a form of replacement for certain things, relationship-wise even. So you see things a little bit differently. What I don't want to have happen is young women in the city will look to the government as a solution to put off having a family or a marriage because you're relying on the government to support you instead of.
Kirk then drops her main thesis. Women are apparently voting left because they want the government to replace marriage and men. This is where Erica fully faceplants. She assumes that New York City women are lazy dependents, waiting for big government to tuck them in at night, completely ignoring the brutal reality that New York City is one of the most expensive cities on earth. The survival rate requires support systems, not a fantasy 1950s husband with a single salary. Her argument reeks of hypocrisy. She's wealthy, isolated, and living comfortably in Arizona, yet feels entitled to lecture working women who can't afford rent without roommates. She's literally the boss baby she says women shouldn't want to be like.
Being united with a husband where you can support yourself and your husband can support, and you can guys all combine together. But I just find it so ironic and so interesting that a heavy percentage of the individuals that voted for him were female.
I don't find it strange at all because contrary to what Erica Kirk believes about women living in New York City, I don't think the majority of them want to avoid having families. I think most people, even though our birth rates are significantly lower than they were decades ago, I really genuinely believe that most people want to find love, they want to find a partner, they want to have a family, and I support that. I have no problem with that. I actually think, look, I'm just going to be fully honest and candid with you all. I love my career. I feel fulfilled by my career. Um, but nothing compares to the happiness I feel when I'm around my nieces, when I'm with my family. So I understand the argument she's making in regard to the importance of family and how it really adds and adds to and enriches your life. That's absolutely true. But what I think she maybe has a difficult time understanding is she's not really in the same position as most Americans. Certainly not in the position as average Americans trying to survive in one of the most expensive cities in the country. And so, if you want to have children, if you want to start a family, well, you're more likely going to do it if you feel that you live in the type of society that supports you in that effort, right? So living is already expensive in a place like New York City. It's even more expensive if you're a single woman. So the idea that like, oh, women want to put off getting married because they want the government to take care of them, I don't think is necessarily true. But here, I'll help her out with why Zoran Momdani was appealing to the people of New York City. Momdani made implementing universal childcare a cornerstone of his affordability-centered campaign.
This is the dagger. Memdani didn't win by tricking women. He gave them a policy that makes having a family more possible, not less. Women aren't rejecting marriage. They're rejecting living paycheck to paycheck while raising children in a financial war zone. Conservatives keep preaching traditional families without offering traditional wages. You can't tell women to stay home while groceries cost like gold bars. And finally, the brutal irony. Erica brags about how fulfilled she is by her powerful role at Turning Point USA, while telling other women that working hard, too hard, is their downfall. That's not a belief, that's a brand. The takeaway? Zoran Memdani didn't win because women hate families. He won because he offers them a future. Erica Kirk offered nostalgia, judgment, and zero solutions.
The promise to deliver it to families with children between 6 weeks and 5 years old stands to be his best shot at making good on one of his policy prescriptions in the near term. And shockingly, Governor Kathy Hochul has said that she's committed to working with him ahead of what promises to be a tough reelection run next year. So I don't think it's shocking that her tough reelection run is probably what's motivating her willingness to work with Mamdani. But putting that aside, Mamdani's campaign identified and validated the concerns of people living in New York City. And it wasn't just that he did what Trump did, right? Where Trump will kind of pay lip service to the economic frustrations that Americans are facing, but doesn't really have any concrete solutions or policy proposals. In Zoran Mamdani's case, he does. And whether it's going to work, whether he's going to succeed or not, let's give him a shot and see how it plays out. But the point I'm trying to make here is that no, it's actually the opposite of what Erica Kirk thinks. Zoran Mamdani's messaging is about supporting people who might want to have families, but feel like they're unable to because of how expensive it is to A, just live as childless people in New York City to begin with. But adding a child to that equation, obviously, is going to make it a lot more expensive. And people want to survive. People want to be able to take care of their children and offer them decent lives. And as much as the conservative trad community wants to think that, you know, you can survive in a single income household where the man works and the woman stays home and takes care of the kids, that is a luxury these days. That's how bad the economic situation is. Inflation is killing Americans right now. Food prices are out of control. So you do need a dual income household to survive. Why do you think single people typically have roommates? I would venture to say most of them would like to have their own place, right? But they can't afford it. So having roommates helps them afford rent.
This statement single-handedly detonates Erica Kirk's narrative. If one income can't support a household, then her fantasy of women happily staying home is not a moral crisis. It's an economic impossibility. The right keeps selling a lifestyle they refuse to fund.
So it's just the same kind of disconnect from working class Americans that we see time and time again from people who aren't really wanting for anything because they're doing pretty well. Plus, she's living in Arizona. She's not living in New York City. She has in the past. And she said in that conversation that she was like one of the boss babes living in New York City back in the day, and that Charlie Kirk plucked her out and took her to Arizona. And she's very happy, but also don't throw stones when you live in a glass house. She's now, the head of Turning Point USA, which is a massive organization. She's a CEO. She's a boss. So there's nothing wrong with that. My point is we should be welcoming of the type of society that just supports Americans, regardless of what they want to do with their lives, as long as they're not looking to harm people, of course. But also, it seems like we do tend to reward people or corporations and bad actors who harm people all the time. Let's focus our ire on them. But for now, let's wait and see how Mamdani performs. But make no mistake about it. I think the reason why he won is just plainly obvious.
Erica Kirk wasn't just wrong, she was humiliated by her own logic. While Mamdani speaks to real economic pressures, Kirk lectures from a political penthouse. She mistakes privilege for insight and nostalgia for substance, and when confronted with actual voter reality, she collapses into culture war cliches. In the battle of ideas, Mamdani wins, Erica Kirk gets exposed. Ring the bell, folks. This one isn't even close. Thank you for watching and listening to our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We will talk with you the next time we need to uncover the real truth.